Hi guys, and welcome to another Zoom chat. Today I'm very happy to have with me former Springbok and SA Rugby Mag columnist Stefan Terblanche. Steph, thanks for joining us. How have you been keeping in lockdown?
Yeah, Craig, thank you very much. And thank you to everybody listening and tuning in. It's great to talk. And, we often say you want to take a break from rugby. And, sometimes it gets too much and we get all carried away with emotions when our team perform well and when they don't perform well. And then it gets taken away from you. And all of a sudden you realize again how much it means and how much of a time it takes up and how much we love the game. So to talk rugby and to stay relevant and to share views, even though there's no rugby going on at the moment, is always great. So thank you very much for that opportunity.
Sure. And Steph, I think we were both watching that Relive campaign, Supersport Rally with the Springboks and looking back at the World Cup, which was quite a nice way to spend Freedom Day. I mean, did you have a look at that and kind of have the emotions kind of come up again of that whole journey of the team in Japan?
It was indeed a fantastic Freedom Day yesterday. We're up on a farm, so we two families together. So we spend it together. We stay together. Luckily, I've got a bit more space on the farm. But yeah, it was indeed special. And for me, it was even made even more special because of the fact that I actually had the opportunity to enjoy part of this journey with the Springboks in Japan in 2019 at the World Cup. And, it was apart from the Springboks performance, and we'll get there now, the whole experience of going to a new country that I've never been to before, a country also that a non-traditional, the people and supporters at the field, apart from the English supporters, and there were thousands of them, everybody supported South Africa. For some reason, they sort of taken South African on as their second team. So it was a very special day to be there. I sat in the stadium for hours afterwards, just soaking it all up, just enjoying and watching the players on the field. And the night after the final, we were very fortunate to go to World Rugby's awards dinner. I did some work for World Rugby during the World Cup. I do the work that no one else wants to do, sit on the judicial panel. And when a player is a bit naughty on the field, we have to decide whether he gets to play again or not. It's a tough job. It's a great job. I had the privilege after the final to go to the awards dinner, and just the way the Springbok team, Siya Kolisi, I mean, when we talk to people about rugby in South Africa, I think they sort of hear what we say and they believe and they can understand that we're passionate, but they don't really get what rugby is all about in this country. It is, yes, it's like a religion to us, and it means so much to so many people and supporters in South Africa. And that night after the final, when Siya and the team went up to get their reward, of course, Rassie was the coach of the year. Pieter-Steph du Toit was the player of the year. The Springboks, they were the team of the year. And when Siya and the team went up there, and Siya spoke about what it meant not only to this team but to all South Africans back home and across the world to win a Rugby World Cup, I think for once they sort of got it. And just the way that Springbok team was received, apart from winning the tournament, yes, that's great. But I mean, that was very, very special for me.
Sure. And Steph, it's obviously a very difficult and different time now with the enforced lockdown. From your side, I mean, we've gone from the highs of that 2019 and perhaps had a bit of time to relook at the game and think about things a little bit differently. I know you've written a column in the latest SA Rugby magazine about this subject. What are some of the things that you think the game needs to be looking at during this time, and perhaps some of the changes you'd like to see come into being in the near future?
Without a doubt, Craig, we will have to look at the way rugby is structured, not only in South Africa, but across the world. And I think COVID-19 has given us that opportunity, because for so long, I think we were afraid to make the changes that we desperately needed and that we knew we had to make in the game. Of course, the game, not only the game of rugby, but all games across, all sport across the world, governments under severe financial pressure having to make some decisions in areas that they never knew and actually don't know still how to deal with it. And they're doing so to the best of their ability. Rugby is certainly no different and under a huge amount of pressure. Professional players love to play the game. That's what they do. That's their life. It's their livelihood, and so do the administrators of this game. So if there's no rugby, there's no income, there's no stadiums to fill, there's no selling of food and merchandise and tickets and travel. It's a massive industry and under huge severe pressure at the moment. You know, we need to be very, very strict. We need to think outside the box because, as I said, there were changes that we always spoke about that we wanted to do and take place in rugby, but we never got there. So now it's a perfect opportunity. I think, for instance, in South Africa, looking at the amount of professional players, I know that my players through Eugene Henning has done an excellent job in restructuring professionalism and the number of professional players in this country. Now maybe look at the number of professional franchises in this in our country at the moment. There are 14, maybe make some of them semi-professional, just to take a little bit of pressure off SA Rugby from a financial point of view, and have 6 or 7 fully professional teams, and then the other ones are, you know, amateur. We've spoken so much about this, and we all know that a change needs to come, but, you know, with the constitution of SA Rugby needs to change before they can do that. Now is the perfect time to do something like that. We talk about a global season. If we go internationally, a global season, you know, when do we play? Who do we play? Where do we play? Should the Springboks play in the Northern Hemisphere, etc., etc.? So all these questions needs to be answered, and I think it's a great opportunity now with the world resetting, and I think we'll see a lot of changes from the way meetings are conducted in business, from travel to, you know, to office space. I think that'll be certainly something that we will see. But I think it's a great opportunity now to make the changes and, you know, move on with the game. We have a great game. Sometimes we lack with regards to the money and the finances and the administration of the game. We have a great game, and I believe if we do it correctly and we manage it correctly, it could be one of the best, if not the best game in the world. We're up against big, you know, paying sports like, you know, like the American sports, and then of course football across the globe. But as I said, rugby is a fantastic game. We just need to look after it better from an administration point of view.
For sure. And Steph, just talking about maybe the challenges facing the players specifically. I mean, it looks like over the weekend there was reports about the agreements that are coming into place with regards to the pay cuts. I mean, from your perspective, I mean, as a former player and as the CEO of the Legends Association, I mean, how difficult do you think this period has been for players in terms of maybe a little bit of job insecurity and concerns about when they're going to play again and what that may look like?
Yeah, good question, Craig. And, you know, I think if you not only look at sport, but I think all industries, we see that top CEOs across South African, you know, blue chip companies and listed companies. We see businesses going into business rescue, going under it. We've been under pressure before. Not only from an economic point of view in businesses, but also in sport. And yes, those pay cuts and referrals of pay will come into play now. And, you know, I always do feel, and I'll always fight for the players, that they have a short career. They need to earn as much money as they can. And if they're the best in the world, they should be paid like the best. But it's an extreme circumstances. It's, you know, no one's really done anything wrong for COVID-19 to happen. When you look at sportsmen, it's not their fault, it's not our fault, it's not your fault that it happened, but it is part and parcel of the world at the moment, and something that we need to address. And if we don't, the game will not survive financially. That's just, you know, that's just the point. And I think I think Eugene, as I said, that my players, Eugene Henning and his group of men there, I think they do a great job. They will negotiate, and I think, to be honest, the players will understand, and they need to understand that yes, they do earn good money, but at the moment they don't play any games, and it's not just a sportsman. If there's no work, there's no play, and I think sport certainly falls in that department as well, unfortunately. So yes, there will be pay cuts, not only for the players, but also for the administrators across, you know, all sports, not only rugby.
Sure. And Steph, we've seen obviously globally all sports tournaments and events being affected. It's obviously not just specifically to rugby, but it's difficult to see when rugby will exactly be able to start being a contact sport, and whether to be able to be played behind closed doors or in front of fans. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty at this time. But from your perspective, what is your view on Super Rugby, the way it's been structured over the last couple of years? There's a lot of talk that maybe that's one tournament that needs to be revised and changed up. And just recently, New Zealand Rugby have said they're looking at Super Rugby, the model, financial sustainability of it. How would you like Super Rugby to change if you could look into a crystal ball and maybe enforce a couple changes to that tournament? Is it about cutting back on the amount of teams and maybe less is more? What is your view on that tournament? Is it one you still enjoy or something you think needs to be freshened up?
Craig, it was one of the most enjoyable tournaments to watch, and certainly one of the most enjoyable tournaments to play in. I mean, the speed of the game, the skill of the players, the intensity, the contact situation, the defense. I mean, it was just an absolute spectacle. So for me, it's very simple. Less teams, more quality games. You know, no disrespect to some of the teams playing at the moment in the competition, but I will not tune in on a Saturday morning or a Saturday afternoon to watch certain teams play. It just doesn't appeal to me. I just don't like the style of rugby. So certainly less is more for me. Go down to 12 teams every game. Because when it started Super Rugby, I kid you not, I could not wait for the weekend. If I could watch the game on a Friday, because I was still playing professional rugby, I watched it on a Friday morning, maybe a Friday night game. Saturdays I watched, and Saturday afternoons you play. I couldn't wait for the weekend. I could name all the teams. I know every single player who was playing. Even if I wasn't supporting the team, I could name the Bulls team. I could name the Blues team. I could name the Hurricanes. You know, you look at the back line, just going to the Hurricanes. I mean, you had Cullen, Lomo, Umaga. You know, it's just it was just insane, the amount of talent and the enjoyment we got watching these games and playing. And it was just the best thing. I still get goosebumps talking over it, and I want the players to experience and enjoy that. I'm sure they do, and I'm sure the current crop of players will tell you. But you know, if some of the players and the Australian players have said it, the New Zealand players have said it, and you know, I'm not talking on behalf of the South African players, but I'm sure some of them would agree that, you know, that we need to have a look at the structure of the game and in Super Rugby, and maybe make more or less, you know, start in February and finish in May, and you know, every single game that you watch is a game of significance to test teams going, you know, head to head sort of rugby, and it's the sort of enjoyment that I get out of watching those games.
Yeah, I think it's a sentiment many people have held. Stefan, I'm just going to ask a couple more questions so I don't keep you too long. But one point I wanted to touch on was just the one tournament that has been cancelled, or at least a few of them are seeming to be around the youth weeks. Obviously, no Craven Week taking place this year. From your side, and I know you're very passionate when it comes to school sport and those sort of youth tournaments, how much of a blow do you think it is for South African rugby to not have those events going ahead? And also, how much of a blow to those youngsters who obviously want to be seen during those tournaments, be picked up for junior contracts and so on? How does SA Rugby deal with the fact that those feeder and talent identification tournaments are not going to happen?
Look, the talent is there. That's a one positive. And again, I've said it so many times before, we got the most talent out of any country in the world at schoolboy level. We're just insanely blessed. And if you don't believe me, just go and look at, you know, we've won the World Cup 3 times in a row, but not 3 times in a row, 3 times, you know, in a number of years. But just go and look at all the other South Africans playing across the world, from club teams to international teams, you know, add them all up and see the quality that's out there that was produced here in South Africa in our schoolboy structure. And it's absolutely insane. And most countries will give their front teeth to, you know, to have that sort of talent coming through the school ranks. I don't believe it will have a massive impact on South African rugby. I do, however, feel very sorry for those grade 7 and grade 12 boys, you know, their last year of primary school, their last year of high school. They've worked so hard, and that was now their opportunity to play and to have an opportunity to make a provincial team. You do feel sorry for those guys, because it is a very special, you know, achievement to go and play at a Craven Week and represent your country and you represent your province and go and play with your mates. I don't think it will have a significant impact on South African rugby at all. As I said, for the talent still there, and there are ways in, you know, through schoolboy scouting and recruitment that provinces and SA Rugby can still identify. Just bear in mind that those kids who play Craven Week, a lot of them are already in the system from a younger age. They're well known. They know what they're capable of. So yes, from a sorry for the schoolboys that they don't get the opportunity, absolutely. But from an impact, what it will have on the future of South African rugby, I don't think it's a problem at all.
Sure. Steph, then just looking at, obviously there's quite a bit of uncertainty around what the player pool might look like from an SA Rugby perspective once players maybe look to go overseas or maybe even come back with this whole coronavirus pandemic. But one guy we've seen coming back from overseas, and I know you're quite passionate about the way he can still add to SA Rugby, is Frans Steyn. I just wanted to chat to you about your views on him coming back to the Cheetahs, and he's probably in his final lap of the rugby track. I mean, what do you think of Frans Steyn? How much do you think he can still do for the Cheetahs, and maybe even going forward to play for the Boks next year against the Lions?
I still think there's a lot of rugby left in Frans Steyn. Without a doubt, he can make a significant impact. Firstly, at the Cheetahs, when he's turning, 33, is it, as Rap? 33, 34?
33 in May.
33 in May. So still relatively young, as long as injuries stayed away. He's played a lot of rugby in his career. He won the World Cup when he was 19, 20 years of age. And he's got so much to offer to those young players in the Free State. I think he'll be happy there. He grew up in Bloemfontein. He went to school there at Great College, as we know. Also very good friends with Ruan Pina, who's at the moment at the Cheetahs, and what a big difference he's made with his experience at the age of 37, still playing, for the Cheetahs. So yes, France have got a hell of a lot to offer, not only to the young Cheetahs players, but also going into international season and the massive tour, of course, with the British and Irish Lions. Hopefully that will still take place. I have no doubt that it will in 2021 next year, June, July. It will be a great series. And without a doubt, still plenty of rugby left in Frans Steyn. Hope the injury stays away. He's a talented player. He's got natural ability. He's big. He's aggressive where he needs to be, and just a great rugby talent and a great guy.
For sure. Steph, just a final question. Obviously, as the CEO of the SA Rugby Legends Association, do you want to just touch on some of the work that you guys have been doing, what you've still been able to accomplish during this time, and perhaps some of the good work you've been doing?
Yeah, thanks, Craig. I've been with the SA Rugby Legends now for 8 years. It's been a great experience, met some wonderful people, and we've made a significant difference to nearly 10,000 kids every year. At this stage, we had 30,000 in our rugby development program last year, from previously disadvantaged areas, and kids who don't often get the opportunity or have never had the opportunity before to play rugby. So the rugby unions across South Africa has been really good to us. We work with them, and between us, we just raise the profile of the game, not only for the boys, but also over 2,000 girls playing rugby now in our structures. So it's very difficult over this time. A lot of our kids don't have access. They live with foster care parents or with their grandmothers, 5 or 6 families in a home. A lot of them don't have internet access. Most of them don't have internet access. So unfortunately, we work with schools. We got 606 schools that we're active in at the moment. The schools aren't going ahead, as we all know. So it's a frustrating time for us, but we're working behind the scenes. We're looking at food parcels because, as I said, often the kids go to school, and when we give them a bit of food, that's often the only food they have, for the day. So we are working behind the scenes to be active and to help these kids, and hopefully when we're back, we'll be back in these areas and make sure that we grow VUCA rugby, as we call it, again. So it's been a great initiative by SA Rugby Legends to start this. We're going well, and we'll continue to grow once we're back up on our feet again.
Great, that's awesome to hear. Well, thanks so much, Steph, for making time and chatting about a range of topics. And keep well, and all the best to you and your family during this time.
Craig, thanks a lot, and everybody out there, keep safe. Chat soon.
Cheers.
Running stride into the final stride.